Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I don't. Okay. And Arch doesn't hear anything. There we go. Got the music now. Yep. And me. Yeah, I hear myself. Okay. And Arch doesn't hear anything. Oh, we got like a 20-second delay. There we go. Got the music now. Yep. And me. Yeah, I hear myself.
Now wait.
And Arch doesn't hear anything. Oh, we got like a 20-second delay. There we go. Got the music.
We're gonna wait till you're done eating, and then we'll go live.
Okay. Arch is going to be our critic. Okay. Arch is going to be our critic. Okay. Arch is going to be our critic.
My mic is not plugged in. Can you hear me now? Hello, can we hear me? Do we actually have audio?
Okay.
My microphone should be
Arch is
working
gonna be our
now.
critic.
My mic is not plugged in. Can you hear me now? Hello, can we hear me? Do
Yes,
we
cool.
actually have audio? And now we need to make sure we have audio from Hip Dad.
Yes, you might have audio from me.
My
You might
microphone
not.
should be
Arch is gonna
working now.
Or I might be just talking to you telepathically.
My mic is not plugged in. Can you hear me now? Hello, can we hear me? Do
We have Tax Action in the
have
chat. Welcome,
audio?
Tax. How you doing?
And now we need to make sure we have audio from Hip Dad.
Yes, you might have audio from
My
me. You might
microphone
not.
should be
Arch is
working
gonna be-
now.
or
We should not have any more looping going on. We just need to verify that we can hear Hip Dad.
Okay, yeah, I think you can hear it. Oh, it's looping now.
Well, yeah, I just killed the loop.
Oh, okay.
So we should be good to go. Everything should sound good. We should have quality production here, as best as we can say. Thanks, Arch. I know you're my sound guy, so I really, really appreciate it. First thing I'd like to say is it is good to be back. It is good to be back, and I'm so excited to be doing this again. I had taken some time off from making videos and some stuff because I have been very busy with work, also had some health issues going on, and it seems like every time I started to get better, something came along and knocked me back down. First was the medication when I tried the new diabetic meds, and it put me in the hospital and damn near tried to kill me. Then I got better from that, and then I got with the cold. We were talking about doing this already, and then I got a cold, and that knocked me back a couple weeks. And then recently at work, I fell off of a rail car, and
Wow.
that hurt me.
And so if this turns into a big poopy doopy show, then we know that it's not in the cards.
Yeah, you could say that, but you know what? I kind of, I'm okay with it. It's okay with me. You know, whatever, the way it goes is the way it goes, man. I'm not here except to have fun anymore. You know what I'm saying? I want to do this channel to have fun. I want to do this channel to teach some people some stuff, you know, and just enjoy myself again. I want to enjoy Linux again. You know what I mean?
Yep. And in between all that, I had to have a pacemaker put in.
Yeah. So I'm not trying to derail what we're going to talk about or anything like that, but how did that go?
Oh, it went fine. I mean, what happened was I woke up one morning and I was nauseous and off center, just sort of couldn't really walk straight. And
Mhm.
normally when I have that, I have low blood sugar, and I checked my sugar, and my sugar was fine.
Mhm.
And so I went and checked my blood pressure, and my blood pressure was fine. But I noticed that my heart rate was down to 27.
Ooh.
And so I went and used one of the finger oxygen thing, and it verified that it was 27, and it wasn't changing. It didn't change at all. So I got myself into the car, and I decided I'm going to go up to the local fire station and have the EMTs do an EKG and find out what's going on. And I went to go there, and I didn't make the left turn I needed to do. I made the right turn to go towards the closest town for the emergency room.
Mhm.
And I went ahead and said, screw it, I'm going. And I drove myself to the emergency room, parked right up front, got to the first handicap spot, and I just happened to have my mom's handicap thing hanging in the car, so I went ahead and parked it, and I went over, and you know how they have the big pylons, cement pylons in front of places. I call them big penises, but I got to there, and I had to lean on that, and I
Right.
stumbled towards the door, and the lady at the counter, she seen me, and she says, "Do you need some help?" I said, "Yeah." She said,
Is it that obvious?
yeah, sat down, and I told her what was going on, and she says, "Do you need a wheelchair?" I said, "Yeah." Went in
Wow.
there, and the thing I like about this emergency room, number one, it's close, and number two, they're very fast. Within 35 minutes, they had tried 2 different drugs to try to bring my heart rate up. Nothing worked, and they said, "We're gonna transport you. We're gonna air transport you to this such and such hospital because we don't do this kind of stuff."
Mhm.
And it just happened to be that I told him my cardiologist, and he was affiliated with one of the hospitals, and so they couldn't do a fly because the weather was too bad. So they went ahead and drove me to about hour and 15 minutes away, and
Mhm.
got me in there. And my cardiologist, he was there that evening, and come in and see me and said, "Okay, this is what we're going to do," and da 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 da. And then the next morning, he had to push them to let me get scheduled in. And he
Mhm.
did. And then the other doctor came in, and he said, "Well," he said, "I want to suggest that we, rather than just going ahead and putting in a temporary pacemaker,
Mhm.
and I want to go ahead and cath you and check, and we'll go ahead and pump some dye in you and check for
By cath, you
any
mean
blood
cardiac
clots."
cath, right?
Yeah, cardiac
Yeah.
cath. And they went ahead and juiced me with dye, and they didn't find any clots, because he said, "I don't want to go and put a pacemaker in and find out that it was a clot."
Right.
So they checked for a clot, didn't find any clots, and so they put in a permanent pacemaker. So it's right here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now you're so now
And
you're running off of probably some form of Linux and Arduino form or something like that.
well,
You're
it's
you're Linux powered.
yeah, it's there's a base over by my bed that
Mhm.
connects me to the Metatronic servers, and they can
Mhm.
monitor me, and they can
Right.
also make me dance.
Make you
The guy,
dance.
well, that's it. The guy came in after I had the surgery, and he said, "Okay, I got to calibrate your pacemaker." And he sit there on an iPad, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and
Right.
he upped my blood pressure up and down.
He did?
Not my blood pressure, but my heart rate. He made it
Oh,
go up and down with an iPad.
yeah. Yeah. So you can calibrate. So you can literally calibrate. It's like they do the same thing with those diabetic insulin pumps. They're
Right,
hooked up to a network, and then they could increase your dosage themselves as they're live monitoring you. Because now a
right.
lot of a lot of they have these monitors that are on you now that are Bluetooth. They're connected to your phone, and then from your phone, it's connected to a network, and it goes across, it goes across your network and goes to the doctor, and they could literally live monitor your CBGs, your blood
Well,
sugar.
yeah, and the bad part is my Kyocera phone is too old to run the app, and I could monitor it myself too.
Yeah.
But thank you, Jay. And I this is the first time I've considered switching to an iPhone, just so I could have that
So you can have that
happen.
live monitor. I've been thinking the same thing. I've been thinking the same thing too, about with my CBGs too, going to that app too. I mean, it's kind of scary because I don't want to be that connected, but it's kind of also nice, especially with what happened to me that put me in the hospital. It's kind of nice to know that they could have that kind of access. And I mean, it's wonderful technology, That's
Right.
the benefit of the technology that we have in the medical field today. And I think that's one of the things that's making um our our longevity to be as long as it is.
Yeah, I have an old heart monitor, a loop device that's in my
Mm-hmm.
chest. It's the battery's died on it. It's just
Mm-hmm.
like about the size of a small pill.
Right.
And he was going to take that out, but they wouldn't let him, even though I was coherent. And I told him, gave him permission. So, no, you can't do it. He's had drugs.
Well,
So,
it's really, it's also with sleep apnea. They have this new device for sleep apnea that they put right subcutaneously under your skin there in your chest. And at night you put this thing on it that turns it on and activates it. It's kind of like your heart, monitor that you have in, your pacemaker.
Right.
It's kind of like
Right.
that, only it just shocks you whenever it detects that you're not breathing or whatever. And it
Right.
just shocks you to make you start breathing. So, I mean, it's
Right.
really cool what they've done with technology today. Now, I'm almost certain that a lot of it is Linux driven, through like the Arduino interface, Arduino and that kind of stuff, or maybe
Yeah.
small Raspberry Pis that have some type of battery. I don't know how they charge, but I mean, it's pretty cool what's come along in technology medical wise.
Yeah, I mean, and they make it proprietary, and making something, making a Linux uh, device or Linux software device proprietary is actually number one, it's easier to maintain, and number two, they make more money.
Well, absolutely. I mean, they're getting cash on both sides of that from being proprietary and the fact that it's medical too, because they could charge insurance an arm and a leg for it.
Yep. I got the bill. Guess how much it cost for this pacemaker?
I want to say 82,000.
No. $100,000.
100,000.
Yep, that's what they charged.
Right.
But Medicare said, no, we're going to give you 12,000.
Well,
and then my supplemental insurance says, well, we're only going to give you 6,000.
So
But
for
I don't have,
18,000.
yeah, I don't have to pay anything.
Well, it is what it is. This, I don't want to get too knee deep into the medical reform that needs to be done in this country, but
Right.
I mean, it's funny because you don't think about that until you get to be our age. When you get to be
Right.
our age, that's when it becomes a different story.
Yep.
Up until then, you're young, dumb, and very invincible.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yep.
looks like we have Jay, which I do believe that is Linux Gamer.
Oh, okay.
Aha. And Arch is bringing us to our new, the first topic, which is the new
Yeah.
router setup.
I
So,
told him about it. I didn't
yeah.
tell specifics, but I told him you did
Yeah.
something.
So, that is awesome that he brought that. Perfect timing, Arch. Thank you so much. So I have a new router setup that is, well, first off, I set up a server and I put TrueNAS on it. Oh, Zainith, what's up, Zainith? How you doing? My bad. I'm sorry. Anyhow, I set up a server that was hosting my Jellyfin, and that I've been hosting my Jellyfin on it, and then I've been actually doing other things with it as well, like trying to serve web pages and stuff like that, that I'm working on for the channel and stuff like that. And so I set it up, and I had a Nighthawk RAX75 Wi-Fi router, which is like a $600 router or something like that at the time. It's 8-stream multi MIMO or whatever it is. So you can have multiple different streams going at different times, and it bandwidth, load balances, and all that good stuff. And I also stream IPTV services. And so I get, I would get a lot of buffering, a lot of this, that, and other. And I'm thinking, man, maybe I got a bad cable. So I redid all the cables. I've done all this stuff, right? And I'm like, I don't understand why I'm getting such low bandwidth, and just come to find out that really those are gaming routers, and they're not meant to do like all the IoT things too, because I have, Wi-Fi lights here. I have, Alexas, I have everything here. I have a lot of Internet of Things. So I was just having a lot of, congestion and network trafficking that was just not conducive to just that router, so I started going down this other rabbit hole trying to optimize my server, right? And so I fell into the greatest godsend of all networking, and that is the Omada controlled TP-Link ecosystem. And it is a godsend. So TP-Link, I've got the ER605, which is their entry level router, wired router, right? And then I have a 8-port PoE switch and then I also ordered an access point, right? So altogether for under $200 with the switch, the router itself, and the access point, I have a very affordable professional business class network setup that's wired with an access point for Wi-Fi. Now, what is so cool about this is the Omada controller. Now, the box itself is $100. It's another, like a router box that you can actually connect into your switch. So you do it backwards. You put the controller to the switch. From the switch, you go to the router, and then you could log in to the controller interface and set up everything within your ecosystem, right? But what's so nice about it is you can granularly manage your network system completely to, like, the access point is multi SSID. So I could set up VLANs inside my router, and then I could assign, like when I set up the actual access point, SSID, I can assign it to whatever VLAN, virtual LAN, that I have in there. So I am literally isolated, and whatever, like if you want to do one for staff or one for projects, specific projects, like engineering or whatever, you can literally have them just log on to one certain IP for them on that, and it literally only buses traffic to them. And you could also rate control your individual devices that are connected to it. So, I mean, the granular ability that you have, and I'm doing a video on it, so look for the video that's coming up. The granularity that you have on it is just so amazing that it's kind of scary. And it was daunting at first because, I mean, on this router, like, you can set up your own VPN server on there. And so you can dedicate that VPN server to whatever VLAN you set up. So you can literally, have it completely isolated and granular to even setting your own IP ranges and stuff. And that's the idea of the VLANs too, is you're setting up your own IP ranges so that way you don't have to worry about, bleed over or anything like that. I mean, it's pretty dope. It's amazing. And the affordability, I mean, if you try to get a router like that, you're looking at, you have a pfSense. Zayna says he's got a pfSense router. But at any instance, like if you look at Cisco or any of those other ones that are the business class ones, you're looking at hundreds of dollars just for the router alone, almost $1,000.
And you increased your bandwidth exponentially too, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I was only, so with all the congestion I was getting on the Nighthawk, I was getting, if I was lucky to get 500 megs down, it was a saint. I truly get my full 1 gig down now. And I rate controlled the Wi-Fi on it because I'm just using the IoT, devices on the Wi-Fi that don't need that much bandwidth. So I've literally been able to limit them down.
Yeah, they're lucky if they need 25
megs
down, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, very light, but I still give it like 200 or 100 and a half, something like that. Right. Just to make sure. I mean, because if I pop on with my phone too, to be able to manage things, I want to be able to look stuff up if I need to on my phone and not take forever to load. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it is really, really amazing. I would strongly suggest anybody to look into the TP-Link ecosystem, and they're getting much better. Like, their switches also are managed, but they're Omada SDN integrated. So you could either use the Omada, or you can use its actual interface. Like, you log into it, like, when you plug into it with your LAN directly, like you do any router, and you could manage it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any IoTs. Well, no, because this thing here, the pacemaker thing, it connects to some dedicated server.
Yeah, through your LAN.
No, it doesn't go through my LAN or nothing. It doesn't even go through Bluetooth.
Right. So it's got its own, like, it's got to be an LGE or, like a 5G or 4G LTE modem built into it.
Yep.
right?
Gotta be.
It's got to
Yeah.
be, yeah. Hey, Darren, how are you doing? Darren's on. So yeah, I mean, and so now I'm looking at getting some, instead of gigabit NIC cards, for my server and my main R PC that I use, which and doing my network setup the way I did too allows me to maximize my capabilities of using Usenet for doing the R stuff, which is amazing, absolutely amazing. I don't know if you've ever used Usenet, but most people are used to using like BitTorrent or something like, or torrenting things. Usenet is, you use SAB NZB or something like that. I can't remember what the client is, but basically Usenet is kind of like the warehouse, and then the client is like your torrent client, right? And so you download at exponential speed. So I can literally download really fast stuff, and then I could actually transfer it from my box to my server. If I get I'm thinking about getting 10 gigabit or 2.5 gigabit NIC cards for both of them, and it'll be lightning fast on this network that I have now. So yeah, VLANs, Zenith is saying VLANs are much needed for a lot. If you, with the way that everything is so connected in people's houses anymore, used to be something that was definitely, business specific or, enterprise specific. But now with so much connectivity going on in everybody's houses, from phones to IoT, I mean, you've got washers and dryers that are connecting to the network now. You've got dishwashers that are, you've got toasters, for God's sake, that are connecting to the network and sending feedback, So all this stuff is definitely hitting things. And yes, VLANs are most definitely needed. I agree, Zenith. And like he's also pointing out, like I told you when I talked to you about it the other day over our chat, it's nice because you kind of air gap yourself when you set up VLANs. You can, somebody could attack it, especially if you have access points like I do. Somebody can come along and sniff it and attack it, and all they're going to do is get caught in that one VLAN. They're never going to get to my true trunk.
So you basically have one VLAN as a honeypot.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's basically virtual. That's what it stands for, virtual LANs that just create, right. But on the backside, they get connected to the main trunk, but it's separated, you know what I'm saying, through the router, and now, you do that through your switch.
If they do that, and if they do get connected to it, somebody that's not authorized, is it just a 404 error?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Durham, I'm telling you, I fell into this little, I'm going to put it out there for those of you that are a little iffy on the network stuff. I'll be honest, I was not a network guy. D-Dubs helped me out understand some stuff. I asked him some questions, and about the network, the actual server, when I was setting up the server part. But as far as the network is concerned, I was doing a whole lot of reading and doing a lot of crash coursing, and that's when I fell into this ecosystem, and everything that I read pointed to this. But TP-Link seemingly, with their controller and the way that they set up their interface of controlling the multi-different devices that you can with that Omada controller, is just it's so clean and so easy that it is very nice. Like Zana says, you could literally set up your network to be containerized, and the granularity of setting it up and down to the rate control of what you want is just amazing. It's the way to go. It is the way to go. If you're serious about setting up a home lab and making it as optimized as possible, you want to look at these products. That's all I'm saying. Even my Jellyfin loads faster on my TV now when I go to access it with the client on the TV or my phone or anything else. No, I haven't pointed it publicly to be able to access it, abroad yet.
Right.
But that's the next step. But I mean, what I'm seeing right now is 200% speed increase. Wired is the way to go. And when you use this type of equipment, when you use this type of equipment, that's what you're absolutely securing.
Yeah, the only difference in mine is I'm using Verizon home Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's your gateway.
I connect wired to it.
Yeah, but so that's your so what I got. So I have my cable modem gateway for my 1 gig, right? And then what I did from there is I put the ER605 TP Link. You can buy it on Amazon. It's like $65. I put that right to my gateway, and then my switch to that, and then my Omada controller to my switch. So the Omada controller sees all the devices in line.
Oh, okay.
And then you can control them all. But I will tell you, there's only 55 switches in the TP Link ecosystem that are compatible with the Omada controller. And the 8-port switch that I bought is $114 on Amazon.
Now, the devices you have purchased, are those manufacturer secure, where they're not spying on you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that it's TP Link all the way. And then also for those of you that are listening out there, the Omada controller is the software that they put in this box. It's like a small, like a 2-port switch, right? But it's got the Omada controller software integrated onto it. However, if you are on Arch or Ubuntu, the Omada controller software is in the AUR, and in Ubuntu, I believe it's available as a snap. On TrueNAS, it's available as a Docker container, so you can install it on TrueNAS and launch it, and then you can access it that way. So you technically do not have to buy the Omada controller. You could use either one of those distributions to run it. Now, I do believe you could probably download the tarball and unzip it and install it, build it your own self. But I didn't do that. I just had Arch sitting on a computer, and I just used that as my Omada controller. And then I could also, and also they have an app in your Play Store and the iPhone store that you can do it with your phone. So you can actually log on to your access point and control it that way. So you don't have to buy that $94 box off of Amazon. You just basically have to have the router and the switch if you want to really containerize yourself and set up your VLANs, or you can just do the router. You can set up a VLAN in there and you can point it to each port. That's the other thing. Like the router comes with the WAN port and I think 4 Ethernet ports. And you can actually specify when you set up your VLANs, you can specify it down to the port on either the switch or the router that will only work on that port. So you can on my 8-port switch, I could have 8 different VLANs and another 4 more on my router.
I lost my train of thought. Oh, no, it's similar. The software is similar to your VPN clients. Most of your VPN clients you have to access private VPNs and stuff. You have your AUR versions. You have your DEB versions. You have different versions for free.
Oh, you're talking about for the controller software? Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Like your Proton VPNs that you have in the AUR, that kind of stuff. Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and so also the one thing I will tell you is if you are running an access point, which, like I said, the access point was like $44, and it does Wi-Fi 5 and 6 as well, and 2.4 for them on the access point that you can buy right now off of Amazon. And in the description I'll put them in there as well, what they are. But at any instance, there you have to have your switch has to have PoE if you want to power it from your switch. Otherwise, it does come with a wall plug adapter to power it, and you could use a standard switch for it. But then you have to run a whole power cable to it and all this kind of crap, or make sure that you have it by a thing. And you can ceiling mount it, or you can wall mount it. But I just bought the PoE switch, the 8-port PoE switch, so it powers over the Ethernet, and it just supplies power to it. So I just have to run one cable to it.
Okay.
One Ethernet.
Now, when you say PoE, you mean point of entry?
Nope, power over Ethernet.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's what PoE stands for in the switch.
Okay.
You're providing the current to power that thing on over the Ethernet.
Similar to what the old telephone systems used to do.
Exactly. Well, you need that. You can I could run a VoIP phone over that, voice over IP phone, or security cameras. Either one. If you're going to do any of your IP cameras, you can run. I could just plug them right into there and plug the Ethernet right into it, and it'll power them. Now you can get them in 62 watt, 125 watt, and like I think 185 watt variants by TP-Link. They have 16. They have 8, 16, 24, and 48 port switches that are PoE.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've never owned over a 6.
Yeah. Well, so a lot of people make the confusion too when they're buying a switch. They see that it's got a plug adapter for it. That's just a power switch. It's not one that's providing power over Ethernet. That's why you got to make sure you're ordering it like a it's a TL/SG 2210 version 3 PoE switch.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I mean it's a pretty cool thing to check out. I mean, if you really or want to set yourself up in a secure network, especially with today. I can't stress enough today the vulnerabilities and the hacks that are always going on, man. And your weakest link that you have in your residential home is definitely going to be your Wi-Fi.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because outside of somebody coming in and plugging into your network, they're not going to have access to it. So they're going to access it through the Wi-Fi from a car on a laptop or some device. You know what I'm saying? So if you could, VLAN that, you know, set yourself in a router to have a VLAN for that and do that, more power, dude. That's just the best way to go. Containerize it.
Yeah, they'd have a hard time plugging in a wire to mine because I don't have 2 ports and they're both being used.
Well, you never know. I mean, if man can break it, if man can make it, man can break it, and they'll figure out a way, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, yep.
So, but anyhow, so that was my topic. What do you got today?
Probably bitching and moaning. I had to. Me and Arch were messing around one day, and I had XFCE installed, and I was digging it. You know, it was cool. And I was pretty comfortable with it. And then one day I found out that it wasn't allowing me to have my 5.1 surround.
That's a bugaboo.
I've got 2 speakers up top. I went and used 2 door wedges and a screw to mount them so they're pointing down towards me, but towards the monitor.
Right.
And I took PEX tubing for refrigerators.
Water. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I ran it down and then down behind my monitor, and I run the speaker wires through that, so it looks jinky, but it doesn't look super jinky.
Right.
But so I found out that I wasn't able to use my 5.1. Now I knew that 5.1 worked in KDE in plasma. So I was like, okay, let's go ahead and do a desktop, because in Arco you can install multiple desktops and stuff, and it has a desktop trasher. So if you don't like it, you can trash it.
Right.
Well, so I installed plasma, found out there's my 5.1 surround. I tested it. All the speakers work. Everything works.
So the 5.1 issue was definitely with XFCE, not
with
distro
their
related.
Yeah. Right. And it wasn't a pipe wire issue. It wasn't a pulse issue.
Right.
It was just, but, so, I knew it was working and everything. And I was like, well, that's cool, and I was in there, and me and Arch was talking, Arch Penguin, we were talking and stuff. And he was like, you really should try Budgie. Cause I was talking about how, plasma was still, it wasn't quite right. There was little things that bugged me. Oh, no, what bugged me was I set the theme to as dark as I could go. But I would open any file browser, and it was this dusty looking awful gray. I mean, it was a cruddy gray. So that bugged me. And I installed, Arch talked about Nemo, and I used to use Nemo's the derivative of Nautilus, and I used to use Nautilus and loved it, especially when the extensions were enabled.
Right.
But so I installed Nemo, but it did the same thing, the same gray crap. And I was like, come on, that's a plasma thing. So he said, man, you really need to try Budgie. No, wait a minute. We tried Nemo, and Nemo showed the dark. Yeah, that was it. That was the one thing that sold me. And so he said, why don't you try Budgie? So I looked in the list, and ArcoLinux had Budgie and everything. And so I went ahead and installed Budgie, and I liked it. Hello, Mr. Nate.
Hello, Nate.
Doing? I've been spamming all the other servers I'm on.
Nice.
So when I went ahead and tried Budgie, and I liked it, and I liked the interface, and I liked the fact that I could download themes. Now, when I first installed it, it had GNOME, which is, the core of Budgie.
Right.
And it tried to put me in a GNOME. It loaded me in the GNOME session by default instead of Budgie. So I had to manually choose that in the login and stuff. So I did that, and then I said, okay, well, I like Budgie. We'll just go ahead and trash XFCE, and we'll trash Plasma. So I trashed them both, and then I went and used PackUI and looked and found all kinds of KDE stuff left over, all kinds of XFCE stuff left over, and I was like, oh my God. And I couldn't just randomly start taking stuff out because it was all interconnected and all that stuff, and I was just like, this is... So I was like, okay, I'm in this challenge, this 2-year challenge. I got 3 months to go. I really don't want to start over, so let's just go ahead and install ArcoLinux from scratch. And I did my time shift backup. Well, no, I didn't do a time shift backup. I went ahead and backed up my home folder and said, okay, let's do it. And so I started doing it, and I've got a Optiplex over here. It's got Debian on it. So I started broadcasting what I was doing to Arch Penguin on from the Debian. Now I was in another Discord server. I was in Nate's Discord server, and the only reason I left is because I have learned this one thing, okay? And I learned it literally this way. I had a carburetor, a 2-barrel Rochester carburetor when I was younger, okay?
Right.
Had a 3-deuce 4-speed 63 Pontiac, and I was working on the main carburetor.
Nice, timeless classic.
And I had 5 people were trying to help me. I mean, total of 5 people were trying to rebuild this carburetor.
Right.
Needless to say, it did not work. So I've got this policy that minimum of 2 people working on one thing at a time.
Right.
That way it gets less confusing and more likely to figure things out.
Correct.
So in the process, me and Arch went to a different server and started doing the Arco install. And so I did the Arco install and chose what I wanted, and because it has this list where you can choose Budgie, you can choose this, you can choose that, and it doesn't mean anything because I unchecked Firefox because I didn't want Firefox on my system.
Right.
And installed it anyway.
I'll share my experience with the Arco installer too after you're done.
Yeah, I chose a lot of things that I wanted, and it didn't install them. And I had some things that I didn't choose, and it installed them, and it just installed a bunch of, I chose we chose the Light DM login manager, and it croaked. Took me to a TTY, so I just went ahead and did another install, and that's when Arch, he joined me, and he started doing it in a VM, and he was like, he's like, there's so much bloat in this thing. And so I did an install and did it more careful and studied and everything. And so it worked. And I used the GDM login manager because by default, no matter what you use, by default, Arco puts in SDDM login manager, which means you're going to have a bunch of plasma stuff
A bunch
installed,
of plasma stuff
whether you're
sitting there,
like,
you don't need it or not. Exactly.
right. So,
Which, in my experience with the Arco, installer, right? You could choose your desktop environment, but for some reason, it still defaults to SDDM. I
Right.
mean, your login,
right.
which is
Yep.
weird.
And so, yeah. And so that's why we chose the light DM. And then since it didn't work, since it croaked, we
Mhm.
chose the GDM. And so, I got it installed and everything, and it's okay. But we're also noticing a glitch on my Discord playback of desktop. When
Mhm.
I'm trying to play back desktop stuff, it has this artifacting that comes through. And you've seen it. And
Yep, I saw it in
but
in Discord.
and I did it on Desktop, I did it on Discord, and it does it on both of them.
Well, I know.
And it
So is
was
it
also
using
doing
Wayland?
it no, I'm on Xorg.
Okay.
And it was also doing it on Desktop before I did the clean install.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. So the thing is now and we pretty much went over that after I get through with your hour broadcast or their
Mm-hmm.
broadcast or
Our
the
broadcast.
Linux community's broadcast. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to Vanilla Arch and I'm going to bow out of the 2-year competition.
Sorry to
Not
hear
less,
that.
not,
You have to give up on the
not,
competition.
well, yeah, but that's a prideful thing because there's no, I don't win anything.
Right.
And there's two
Except
more
peace of
people
mind.
that are,
You're going to win
there's
peace
two,
of mind.
yeah. I think there's two more people that are ahead of me.
Right.
But at the same time, it's just a thing of I did it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's I've just decided tonight, like, well, just go Vanilla Arch.
So,
And you never know, I might choose something else. I don't know.
hey, it'd be interesting to hear. Maybe we'll hear it next week, right?
Yep.
So for me, I remember I was telling you about the Omada controller, right? I had two choices. I had Ubuntu, TrueNAS, actually three choices. Ubuntu is, I think, a snap. I'm assuming a snap, I should say. I never even looked into the route, but I know that it's available for Ubuntu as either a .deb or a snap, because it's on the TP-Link website. And then there's the actual AUR for Arch. And then, like I said, TrueNAS has a Docker image that you can download and install onto it, right? So for me, I chose Arch because I'm strong into Arch ecosystem. That's what I know best next to NixOS, right? And so I'm like, I'll just do Arch, right? And of course, the reigning Arch install is always going to be Arco because it's already completely set up for you for the most part. And it's just, load and go, which is what I was looking for. This is the first time I've ever battled the Arco installer because, like I said, my experience with it was very similar to yours. Like, you have the choice between advanced and easy. Easy installs the minimal basic one and you're good to go, right? And if you do advanced install, this is where you can pick and choose your desktop environments, your wallpapers, whatever you want, everything you want, right? And I went through and went down each, itemized thing to set up the Arco Linux that I wanted, right? And at the end, and what I noticed as I'm clicking it, because it does the Sophorim.
Sophorim,
Yeah, Sophorim. And half the things that I click on that I wanted, it says you can't find it. Missing. It's missing in the repo.
Right.
With the red warning. And I'm like, well, then why is it even freaking listed on here? Why are you doing this stuff? And so I'm like, this is no good. And so then I noticed that pretty much all of the Arco stuff is all that's available with.
Mm-hmm.
Very few of the other stuff. I guarantee it's all Arco stuff that he's done for ArcoLinux, which, if that's the case, I don't have a problem with that, Eric. I mean, you can just don't offer the other options. Why are you making that available if you're not including it in your repo?
Right. And the other thing it did,
from.
Yeah, the other thing it did is it installed the 6.11.7 kernel.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I was like, it gave me two choices. It gave me 6.11.6.
Right.
And then it had 6.11.7.
Right.
Okay. So, or 6.11.7, whatever. But it had the choice. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Why did it do that? It shouldn't have, I shouldn't have two choices.
Mhm.
So I went in and looked, and they have this new ArcoLinux app
Mhm.
called Kernel Chooser or whatever.
Right.
And so I looked at it, and I was like, it had the 7 kernel. So I went ahead and took out the old kernel,
Yeah.
and then it told me that the new kernel wasn't valid. It wasn't, uh, oh no, it left the core. Okay.
Right.
So after doing a bunch of backward stuff wrong and everything, I ended up, finding out that the 7 kernel was the hardened kernel, which
Yeah,
is in a
the
whole
hard one.
different, the whole different setup.
Right. It's its own class. Yeah.
Yeah. And so eventually I got it
Yeah.
figured
For
out.
me, it kept wanting to
Me and Arch
install
together.
Linux, the Zen Linux kernel.
Right. It did that to me too. It tried
Yeah.
to install the
And what
Zen.
was
Yep.
interesting is I would go through that whole advanced install, and then it would error out.
Right.
So then
I mean,
I
mine
had
didn't error
after the
out. It
second
just,
time, it worked. But then I realized it had everything I didn't want on there. So I'm like, screw this, I'm wiping it off. And I just did the easy install. And then I did what I've always suggested to people in all my videos is get proficient with the command line package management system and install what you want, because the best distribution out there is what you put in the box. And Nate, who who we all know is the Pop OS shill, I got to tell you something, man. This new Pop OS that's coming out is, from what I've been playing with it and seeing in because I've still been tooling around with stuff in the background, is it's amazing. They've done a really good job with it. It's good.
yeah. I mean, what's Pop OS based on again?
Well, they're writing it in Rust now. It's the
Oh,
Cosmic Desktop. It's based.
okay.
It's Debian based. It comes off of Ubuntu, but the thing is they've completely written their desktop environment, the Cosmic Desktop environment, on Rust, and it's beautiful. It's smooth. I mean, it's got some bugs. I think it's still maybe alpha, maybe early beta.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it's really, really, it's nice. I've gotten to play with it. The transitions are beautiful. It's beautiful. So it's really good.
Yeah.
And Arch says in the chat, sounds like the same experience he had with Arco. That is the Arco experience, which is kind of sad, because when you think about it, I mean, Arco has been dominant for so long, and he's gone to this app-based system that is just, everything's about an Arco app. You know what I'm saying? Or, I thought the tweak tool was the best thing that he did. Honestly.
Yeah, the tweak tool was
the
pretty
tweak
cool.
tool was the best thing, and that was for all art. You could use it on any art, whether it was Endeavor or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It was really good. The tweak tool was really, really good. But all these other apps are just seemingly not really, I don't want to say necessarily well thought of, but they're not playing nice. And I don't know if it's because he's got too many irons in the fire, or the people who he has doing it has too many irons in the fire and they're not tying the loose connections together, or what. But, I mean, I feel like I did a review on ArcoLinux a couple years ago, and he actually watched the video and he actually messaged me on it. So maybe I could do another review on it and see if maybe, I could bring home something with him, because I got to tell you something. Even though the ArcoLinux is doing what it's doing now, like I said, I'm a little saddened by it, because to me, it's always been the pinnacle of the Arch way, for people. It really has.
The other thing I really like about it is all the aliases.
Oh,
in the command line.
Nobody has a bash RC. Yeah. Nobody has a bash RC file as complete as him.
Yep.
It was funny because Tyler, I was talking to Tyler one time, and I said, dude, if you want, because he's got, he does a lot of aliases on his NixOS bash RC, right? I said, if you really want to see some freaking aliases, I said, you got to check out ArcoLinux. He's like, well, I said, I think I got one here. And I pulled it up and I shared it with him, man. He's like, holy hell. Not only does Eric have aliases for actually like truly correctly spelled What's up, Steve? How are we doing? But you know, he but he has aliases for stuff that's legitimately spelled correctly, but he's actually even got them for often misspelled words like update or whatever. Or sudo.
Yeah.
He's got like 4 or 5 variants for that too, are the most common ones. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and I think he's just started throwing stuff at the magic whiteboard and putting stuff in there without really thinking it through. And he's doing that in his YouTube videos. He's doing Ubuntu installs, WM3, 3W. He's just doing all kinds of stuff. He's even doing an Arduino OS. And
I heard that, and I'm like, wow. No, it's interesting enough. Interestingly enough. So if you go on Facebook and you look at Rage Lighting, I am actually a co-creator of Rage Lighting, and we use Arduinos. And what we are, it's lighting systems for stage equipment and lighted microphone stands that do fancy, lighting, lighting features and stuff. Like we can do flames, we could do orbits. We also have lighting boxes behind that could do all kinds of cool things. I'm a co-creator of that whole thing, and we deploy those a lot here in the Seattle music scene for the tribute band. A lot of tribute bands use us. And so at any instance, it's all Arduino driven. And in that world, yeah, I'm interested to see what he does, because we use Arduino, for those. And so it's it's interesting to see what he does with that.
That's the most recent one he's done, is an Arduino OS.
So I heard that, and I was like, that's cool. But I mean, I don't know. Like I said, there's not a lot of applications for that. I would have thought he would have done more of a Raspberry Pi one first. You know what I mean?
Well, he might have.
Yeah, I don't know if he has or hasn't.
I just recently, in the last week, resubscribed to him.
Oh, really? Yeah. And Steve brought up a very valid point. Arco is doing too much now. Zero Linux is still as it was in total freedom. That's correct. Which, by the way, I do need to get an ISO and take a look at it. No, I haven't seen your latest ISO, Steve, so I will take a look at it.
Now, which desktop are you using now, Steve, as your base?
Oh, if I had to guess, it'd probably be
Plasma. Still?
Plasma. Yeah. I mean, he's definitely a KDE guy, which is nothing wrong with it.
But he's had some issues, just like I did.
Well, I know that
with the
KDE had just updates that were doing stuff, but then recently they had the thing where the mouse would get extremely huge. And I experienced it once when I was test driving something on KDE. I mean, it got ginormous. It got ginormous.
Yeah. But yeah, because I'm not set in stone on exactly what operating system I'm going to install, but I'm really not sold on the Plasma right now. I'm looking at Budgie as my default desktop.
Budgie's a beautiful desktop. Those Solus guys, when they created that, they knew what they were doing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was. I mean, it's Cinnamon-esque, but in my mind, I think it's a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people argue that Cinnamon is, but I think it's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in another. It depends on what you're looking for.
Well, I
like the cleanness of it.
Yeah.
Oh, Solus? Yeah. Well, have you checked out their? So the Solus guy actually. Steve says he fixed all that, by the way, in the KDE thing. But the Solus guys have a new OS that they've been putting out, and I'm following it. You can follow it and find it on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Right.
It is Serpent OS.
Oh, okay.
And you can get the Cosmic Desktop on it. It's still, I think, an alpha. I believe it's in alpha, but you can get the Cosmic Desktop on it. They've rewritten that, so it's an independent distro. By the way, I've been talking to them, here and there throughout the time, following them, and it's an independent distro. They built their own file system. They do their own file manager. Everything. It's from scratch. Everything's from scratch.
So what's it called again?
Serpent OS.
Okay.
I will definitely hit you up after the pod, Steve. We definitely need to catch up. After party. What you saying? Yeah. I'll probably hop into the voice chat in the Discord. General.
Okay. Okay, there. It took me directly to the download.
For Serpent OS? Yeah, you can
Yeah.
download it and test drive it. It's beautiful.
Now, is it in alpha?
I believe it's in
Is it-
alpha. I'm not sure the stage.
Okay. Yeah, pre-alpha.
Pre-alpha. There you go. Close
Okay.
to, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna go with pre-alpha right just yet.
Uh,
I'm
yeah.
gonna do it on one of my other.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't use, and it's
Optiplexes.
definitely not a daily driver. No. But the preview's there. You can experience the core of it, which is, it's going to be nice when they're done. If they do what they did, when they created Solus with Serpent OS, dude, it's gonna be a smash right out the bar. They're hitting a home run. It's gonna be a home run.
Yeah,
I do believe that the other desktop default is, I do believe, GNOME or GNOME. Right. I don't think they may have incorporated Budgie. I may be wrong. I'm not sure. It's been a minute since I talked to them.
Yeah. The only Solus I know of is when Josh was installing it and messing with it and making the devs upset.
I don't know there's any dev out there that Josh hasn't made upset.
True. Very true. Yeah. But
okay,
yeah,
I hear you.
Overall,
I hear you, Steve.
Right now my bids in my head are ArcoLinux, Debian, because I put Debian on one of my Optiplexes over here, and it was like flawless install, and it's rock solid. The only thing I don't like is I've had it in over there for a month and a half, and there's no updates.
That's the problem with Debian. They're slow with updates.
Right, but
unless you do what is their? Wait, don't they have a testing?
They have a testing.
The testing, yeah, the testing.
That's sketchy.
Well,
because back in the day when I was doing
the AUR.
Yeah, well, but I don't use the AR very much. When I was doing Debian back in the day, when it was Potato and all those, that's the one thing I didn't like, because back then you were lucky if you got a kernel update that was not 2 years old.
Yeah,
and so
I don't think
finally went to at least a 6-month loop now.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I think they're 6 months. Yeah.
So, but then I would say Arch is the first one in line, and then maybe Pop OS and
Arch Vanilla is nice, but I will tell you this: when I played with Arch Vanilla, because I like Hyperland, I did the Hyperland profile. Now I don't believe you're a window manager guy, but nonetheless, this should be a PSA for everybody. And I do believe Steve can correct me, because Steve also mentioned it as well. And I think when we're doing a DT's podcast or DT's Patreon cast, and the Hyperland profile, and I don't know that they fixed it or not because I haven't tried it, but the Hyperland profile is messed up. It doesn't install everything you need to actually make Hyperland work well. It's missing some parts. So if you decide to do the vanilla Arch install, stay away from that desktop profile, especially if you don't know Hyperland.
Right.
But Hyperland is beautiful. I love Hyperland.
Yeah, I still haven't jumped over the Wayland fence yet.
Why? Why is that?
Because
it doesn't play. Well, I hear it plays nice with NVIDIA now.
Well, yeah,
the new drivers, the brand new drivers that are out, it plays really nice with them. Arch says that Budgie on Arch is nice. Budgie on anything is nice. Budgie as a desktop is very nice. Rock solid, stable, aesthetically beautiful, clean. It ticks all the boxes and it's minimal. It's very minimal to me. It ticks all the boxes.
So you're saying the 565 5701 is working pretty well with Wayland?
Yes, from what I understand, a lot of things that I've read and heard. Yes.
Okay. You never know.
Yep, set it, forget it for real. For Budgie, yep. Arch is absolutely right. And when I say Arch, I refer to Arch Penguin in the chat.
Yep. Archie Arch.
Arch. Yep. So yeah, I mean, I definitely would play. Steve says, nope, it doesn't. And now Arch install is broken. Did not install Pipewire or Pulse. Otherwise, will fail. Have to do it post install. Just a warning for HipDad.
Oh,
Wow.
so your generic installer is broke?
He's talking about the vanilla Arch install
Yeah.
is broke at the moment. ATM.
Okay. Huh.
That's that's the nature of Linux. That's the sad part. It's sad, but it's also frustrating because to me, if you're trying to get people to install your distribution, then basically the one thing that you should make sure is flawless and always working is the actual installer. Especially if you've done an installer for it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Although Arch people will be like, well, do it the Arch way. The old, follow the Arch handbook, the Arch wiki, to install. You can do it that way still.
Yeah, I've been there before.
And he says, yep, the fix is coming with version 2.9.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, that's the one thing I always tell, and Steve could verify this. I've had several back channel discussions with him, as one of the distro review guys out there. I always tell Steve the same thing. Two things: make sure that if you're going to put an icon on your desktop to launch of any kind, make sure the shit works, and make sure that your damn installer works well and is clean and neat. That's it. Make the install experience positive. Because if you have to fight to get the OS installed, it means you're going to fight to keep the OS maintained and running. Art says, don't worry about this. I got you. To HipDad.
I know. Yep. I know.
So either way, man, if you're going to do that, so those are the ones you're looking at installing at the moment, right? And
yeah.
When do you think you'll be doing that? After we're done with the podcast, or are you
possibly? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll mull it over.
Nice.
Nice.
Well, I hope whatever you jump to is going to suit your needs.
I'm looking at the Arch installer versions right now.
Got you. Yeah. Steve says that's the goal of Zero Linux. What I just said.
Oh,
and that's good. That's good. That's why it's still around, and that's why so many people still wanted it. It looks good. It installs nicely. The last time I checked, it did. I haven't seen this new ISO, but I'm sure it does. It installs nicely, and it's clean and straightforward. What version is it now? Are you?
I'm trying to find it, and I can't find it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'll look it up myself.
Well, it's
2.8.
Oh, 2.8?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, okay. So we're waiting for another version. Okay.
Yep.
The only thing I got against Zero Linux is Plasma.
He says he's got all the issues fixed, I believe. Yeah, Arch is 2.8.6 right now.
Okay. With Plasma, the main thing that confuses me and irritates me is the fact that no matter whether I install Dolphin, Thunar, whatever, it's got that stupid gray interface, and I don't want a gray interface. If I have all black, I mean, like my theme right now is all black. I mean, it's black. I got some gray when I highlight stuff, but
right,
overall, it's just massively black.
It's easier on the eyes, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's easy, especially for somebody with only 1.5 eyes.
Right. I'm the same way. I like the dark, and I like everything to be dark except for what I want gray, and I specify that, and right. I understand that is a problem with like right now with my file picker for the hyper picker on my Nix OS setup, studio PC. For some reason, my Hyperpicker is now all of a sudden blindingly fucking white, and I don't know why.
Oh,
I've tried changing it, and it just isn't taking the change. So,
and it does that with it was doing that with XFCE on the sound configuration. You would open it, just the little thing, and it was in your theme, and then when you open it to full config, it was solid white.
Yeah.
I'm like, why?
Yeah, exactly why. Art says Plasma is equal to a rolling desktop, and he is not wrong at all.
Yep.
Oh, Jam B Girl 101 just joined or just subscribed to the channel. Thank you so
That's
much.
Megs. That's Megs. That's my friend.
Oh, that's Megs. Nice.
Yeah, she's from Canada. She's from Canada.
Nice.
Oh, you're streaming on Twitch too?
No.
Oh, okay. So it's,
But Stream
I don't
Elements.
understand.
Stream
I
Elements.
don't understand it.
What do you mean?
I don't understand Stream Elements.
Oh, Stream Elements is a place that helps you set up all your streams, and it announces different things when people join, subscribe, people give a super chat or whatever. It lets you know that kind of stuff. So, but it doesn't stream to other platforms. What's interesting though is I'm on Rumble, and Rumble in their studio will let me stream to other platforms, multiple different platforms all at the same time. I can stream to Facebook, YouTube, although YouTube doesn't let them play nice very well with them. Twitch, Twitter, and TikTok even. It'll stream all those places live. It's interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I never did understand that. She has a Twitch stream channel that she does. She makes her own yarn. She spins it and everything. It's pretty cool.
Kidding. Make sure you drop a link on that, and so people can find your stream. Don't be afraid to drop it in there, or
she's
let me
building
know.
a following.
Nice, good. Whatever we can do, go join her channel, Megs' channel.
She'll teach you how to make socks.
Cool. It's cold enough up here. We could use that kind of stuff, man. I got one of my coworkers. I literally just bought $60 worth of stuffed animals that were made, by somebody knitting, stuffed animals, or crocheting animals, for the grandkids over in the Philippines for Christmas.
She still refuses to make me a thong.
I think that would be a really itchy one. Just gonna put that out there. You know what I'm saying? It seems like it wouldn't be a very comfortable one. Just gonna put that out there. Not saying that I have experience in that in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's cool. I look forward to hearing your adventure on whatever you move on to.
Okay.
You don't like, so Zero Links is not one for you because of the KDE?
That's the main. I mean, I may try it. I don't know. I may do that. I don't know.
Nice.
I mean, right now, the main reason for going for vanilla is to have the least amount of cruft and bloat as possible.
I got you. There's been several videos, and Steve could also verify this because I've said the same thing to him, that in many of my reviews, there's so much that's included into Linux that most people will not want to use anyhow. Why not make everything a minimal install and then let people add into it what they want? Because after all, the best Linux distribution out there is the one that has everything that you put into it yourself and nothing more. Because you know best what you want to do with your distribution. Now, I understand that there's people that are coming over that have never played with Linux before, and so they're trying to learn a little bit about it, get a feel for it. So a desktop environment that's set up, or a distribution that is set up that has just the basics to get online, maybe do, some games on there, some Linux game, like, the Steam client installed, that kind of stuff, at best would be the best. And a couple of decent, browsers to choose from, you know what I'm saying, in there that are secure, that aren't known for their bloat, you know what I'm saying, would probably be the best, to put in there, and just leave everything else. And of course, the software manager, to let them be able to go download whatever software that they need to install. There's a graphical one in the beginning to make them learn, to get them to understand what especially the good part about the graphical user interface software centers that are out there. What's nice about them is it lets you know actually the plethora of software that's out there for Linux. Because a lot of people don't know how much software is out there for Linux.
And that's funny coming from somebody that used to, when I would install the Debian net install back in the day, and they had a checkbox right at the beginning that said everything. And I would check that and install everything.
Holy crap!
It took almost
hours
half a day on a 56K.
Wow.
It was still fun.
Steve says Zero Linux has zero cruft, not even a GUI package manager. So you are forced to use a command line, which is nice. As you know,
do you have the aliases too?
Who, me?
No,
Steve.
I was wondering if Zero Linux has the aliases like Arco does.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, he had some. I know that he had some in his Bash RC, but pretty much so. Most of those aliases are copy and pasteable. You do know that, right?
Right.
So you could have them in an instant on that.
Right.
He says, "Yep, he does have them."
Okay.
So there you go.
I'm falling in love with PackUI though.
PackUI is a beautiful tool.
Yeah, you just got to be really careful. You got to read when it says, "Do you want to do this, this, and this?"
Oh, absolutely. Would you need to do that anytime when you're in command line anyhow?
Right, but most of your
people just go click, 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 click.
Yeah, they just say,
yep,
and then they spit out conflict.
The greatest one of those was freaking Sebastian. Linus when he did it. Linus Tech Tips. You know what I'm saying? Linus Sebastian when he did it, man, because he just nuked his entire freaking system because he didn't read what it said.
Yep.
So yeah. Anyhow, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up. This was actually a pretty good podcast. I liked it. It went kind of well. No worries. We only had 2 topics to come up with, but again, it was short. It was kind of a quick down and dirty, throw it together and let's get it out there and do it kind of scenario. Anything else you want to say?
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I think we'll have you more. We're going to have you in the future some more too. So no worries. Okay. Like I said, I've been trying to come back, but I had the health setbacks that happened, and then work happened, and then now it's just like even Mrs. Linux Tube the other day yelled at me. She says, "Are you ever going to make another video again?" I was like, "Oh, I guess I got to get on it and do it." You know what I mean?
Yeah. Says you're pestering me all the time. You need to do something else.
So either way, we got some videos coming this week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Arch. I really appreciate that. We got some videos coming this week, and so stay tuned for those. The first one that's going to be coming is going to be on my TrueNAS server and going over some stuff on there because I did a rough overview the last time. This time we're going to go into some in-depth stuff. And then after that, we're looking at the video on the TP-Link stuff that I was going to show you. I'm going to show you the Omada controller, that kind of stuff. So either way, it was very fun doing this again. Thanks, Tac Action from, looks like he's a British fellow over there. British. Yep. He's over in England. Man. That's awesome. Nice to see you in our chat. Thank you so much. Either way, we'll see you next week. And till then, y'all keep doing what you do. Keep on Linuxing and stay blessed. Have a good one. Bye.
Take care.